Neville Goddard warned about one trap that silently kills manifestations. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you I lived inside this trap for over a year, thinking I was doing everything right. And the wild part is, it doesn't look like doubt. It looks like faith. It looks like patience. It looks like I'm trusting the process. And that's why it's so deadly, because you'll swear you're living in the end, while you're literally canceling the end every single day. What I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind. Because once you see this, you can't unsee it. And you'll instantly recognize the exact moment you've been pushing your desire away. And stay with me, because in a few minutes, I'm going to give you a one-sentence self-test that exposes whether you're manifesting or secretly waiting. And that sentence alone changed everything for me. I still remember the moment my stomach dropped, because I had to admit something I did not want to admit, which was that I wasn't being consistent and disciplined in the Neville way. I was being consistent at keeping what I wanted in the future. I was doing sats, I was visualizing at night, I was having little wins that felt like breadcrumbs from the universe, like, okay, this stuff is real, but the big desires, the ones that mattered, the money shift, the relationship shift, the life shift, it was always almost here, always close, always any day now. And months were sliding by while I kept telling myself this phrase that sounds spiritual but is actually poison. I kept saying, be patient, it's coming, just keep doing the work. And then one day I'm rereading The Law and the Promise, and I hit this line that felt like Neville grabbed me by the shoulders because he says, the moment you wait for your manifestation, you have denied it. And I'm telling you, I literally reread it like 3 times because my brain was trying to negotiate with it. Like, waiting is normal. Waiting is responsible. Waiting is what good people do, right? And Neville's basically saying, no, the moment you wait, you just confessed you don't have it. And in that moment it hit me. I had been visualizing, then checking, visualizing, then watching, visualizing, then waiting to see if it worked. And I thought that was faith, but it was actually me living in this invisible space between imagination and fulfillment. This gap where you keep your desire on a leash and you stare at the 3D like it's a scoreboard, and the whole time you're thinking, okay, is it here yet? Is it here yet? And that energy, that posture, that identity of not yet, that is exactly where manifestations go to die. Because listen, here's what I didn't understand. And if you miss this, you'll keep repeating the same cycle forever. Living in the end does not mean living in anticipation of the end. It means living as though it's already done, already yours, already a fact in consciousness. And the second you can feel the difference between those two, you'll realize why you've been doing techniques for months and still feeling stuck. And in a second, I'll show you the tiny internal move that takes you from anticipation into possession, because it's not complicated, it's just uncomfortable at first. So let me show you exactly what happened the first time I actually stopped waiting, because this is where it gets almost comical. I wanted extra money. I picked a number that felt real enough to care about, but specific enough to test myself. I wanted at least $800 to show up from somewhere unexpected, and for weeks I did the thing everyone does. I imagined checking my account, I imagined a surprise payment, I imagined that relief in my chest, and then I'd wake up and do the most damaging part. I'd scan the day like a hunter, like, okay, maybe today, let me check, let me refresh, let me peek at my balance, let me look for the sign. And nothing moved, which made me try harder, and trying harder just made me check more, and checking more just made me wait more, and waiting more just made me create more, not yet. It was a perfect loop, like a manifestation treadmill. Then I read Neville's line, and I had this harsh realization. I wasn't assuming wealth, I was assuming soon. I wasn't living in the end, I was living in the hallway leading to the end. And I decided I was done with that. So I made the shift. And it's going to sound almost too simple, but it's everything. I stopped treating the money like an upcoming event, and I accepted it as a present fact in consciousness, meaning I wasn't saying, it's coming. I wasn't saying, it's on the way. I wasn't even saying, I'm so excited for it. I was saying, it is mine now. It is done now. And the 3D is just late, which is not my problem. And then I did the part most people can't do. I stopped checking, because checking is waiting with a fancy outfit on, Checking is you asking the 3D for permission to believe. I went on with my day like someone who already had the extra $800 handled. And here's the crazy part. The moment you actually have something in consciousness, you naturally stop obsessing, because obsession is the emotion of not having. 3 days later, my landlord calls and says they overcharged utilities and they're issuing a refund, $340. 2 days after that, an email hits about a rebate I forgot I even applied for, $280. Next day, my mom sends me money just because, $200. And when I tell you the total was $820, I'm not telling you that to impress you. I'm telling you because what happened internally is what matters. I didn't feel that frantic, shaky, oh my God, finally. I felt this calm satisfaction like, yeah, obviously, this was already mine. The world is just catching up to what I already accepted. Now here's why waiting is so dangerous, and Neville warned about it so strongly, because waiting is not neutral. Waiting is an assumption. When you wait, you are assuming, I do not have it, and you're assuming, it exists, later. And Neville's entire system is built on one brutal truth: assumption creates reality. So if your state is not yet, your reality must keep confirming not yet, and it'll be so sneaky because you'll keep getting near misses, little movements, tiny synchronicities that keep you emotionally hooked, like, ooh, it's close, ooh, it's coming, and you'll think you're progressing, but you're actually feeding the state of almost, which is the most addictive state because it feels like hope while it keeps the desire out of your hands. This is where most people have the model wrong, and I want you to catch this because it's the whole video. Most people think manifestation is like a timeline where you do the technique, then you wait, then you receive, and the waiting part feels normal. But Neville didn't teach a 3-step timeline. He taught that the moment you accept the end as true, it is done in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality, meaning the physical world isn't the source, it's the echo. So if it's done, what are you waiting for? Think about it. If you ordered something online and it said delivered, you wouldn't keep refreshing the tracking every 30 seconds like a maniac. You'd just live your life because the internal conclusion is settled. That settledness is the state. And here's the key phrase that snapped it into place for me. And I want you to listen closely because this is one of those lines that rewires you if you actually apply it. Neville said, "Do not go to sleep feeling that you will be it, but feeling that you are it. Not, I will be. Not, it's on its way. Not, soon, but I am. Present tense, now." So the way you escape the waiting trap is not by forcing positive thoughts all day. It's by catching the moment you slip into anticipation, because anticipation is the mask waiting wears. The second you notice yourself thinking, I can't wait, or when is it going to happen, or maybe today, you stop and you pivot. And you don't pivot into hype, you pivot into ownership. You tell yourself, it's already mine in consciousness, it's already done, and if the 3D looks slow, that's fine. Echoes are always late. And then you do the real work, which is you live like there is nothing to monitor, nothing to chase, nothing to hunt for, because the person who has it does not stalk it. And this is where it got almost embarrassing for me, because once I saw it everywhere. I realized I wasn't living in the end. I was living in the pregame. I wasn't having faith. I was hoping. I wasn't trusting the process. I was watching the process like a hawk. And in a second, I'm going to show you an example where the waiting trap is even more subtle, because it can hide in something people call detachment, and most people don't realize they're doing it. So here's a relationship example, because money is one thing, but this is where people really expose the waiting energy. I wanted to hear from someone specific, someone I hadn't talked to in months, and I did what everyone does. I visualized their name on my phone. I imagined the message. I felt the warmth. I felt the reconnection. And then during the day, I kept checking my phone. And it was subtle too. It wasn't like I was panicking. It was just this constant little lean forward. Like, maybe it's them, maybe now, maybe later. Every buzz, every notification, I'd feel my body do that little spike. Weeks pass, nothing, and that's when I caught the truth. I am not manifesting contact. I am manifesting waiting. I am practicing not yet all day long, and then wondering why not yet keeps showing up. So I changed one thing. I decided the conversation already happened in consciousness. I decided we are already connected now, not as a fantasy, not as a wish, but as a state I occupy, and then I stopped checking. And it's funny, because when you actually accept it, you stop gripping it, and people call that letting go. But it's not letting go as in giving up, it's letting go because you already have it. 4 days later, they texted me. And again, same pattern. I didn't get the desperate rush of, finally. I got that calm satisfaction like, of course, the 3D is just showing me what I already made true internally. Now here's the second layer of the trap, and this one is going to mess with you, because it's where a lot of spiritual language becomes a hiding place. People say, I'm not waiting, I'm just trusting divine timing, and I know that sounds beautiful, but most of the time, divine timing is just waiting with incense on it, because the implication is still, I don't have it yet. It's still future, it's still later, it's still separate from you. Neville didn't teach, hand it to the universe and hope. He taught, assume it's already done and dare to believe it now. Because in consciousness, there is only now, and the more you place it in a mystical future, the more you keep it out of your present experience. This is where people get stuck for years, and I'm saying that because I was one of them. They think detachment means, I don't care when it comes, but that's not detachment, that's resignation. Detachment in Neville's world is, I already have it in consciousness, so I'm not thirsty for the 3D to prove it. They think surrender means, I'm giving up control, but surrender in Neville's world is, I'm surrendering to the fact that it is done, so I'm not fighting reality for it. They think patience means, I'll wait as long as it takes, but patience in Neville's world is, I'm at peace because there is literally nothing to wait for. And here's that one-sentence self-test I promised, because it exposes everything instantly. When you think about your desire, do you feel like you're leaning forward into the future, or do you feel like you're sitting back in possession right now? If you feel that forward lean, that I can't wait, that I wonder when, that maybe soon, that is waiting, and waiting is the assumption of not having. If you feel calm, settled, satisfied, even slightly bored, like, yeah, that's handled, that's possession, that's the end. And if you're realizing right now that you've been living in that forward lean, don't beat yourself up, because I did too. But I want you to see what this really is, because the waiting trap is literally the gap between imagination and reality. And the moment you close that gap, manifestations start showing up in ways that will freak you out. And I'm going to prove it with my biggest example, the one that took months until it suddenly took weeks. I wanted a new living situation. I was in a small apartment that was fine, but it didn't feel like me. I wanted space, light, that this is home feeling. And for months, I visualized waking up in the dream place, and then I sabotaged myself during the day by scrolling listings, calculating, planning, telling myself, maybe in a few months, maybe next season. And notice how that identity feels. It feels like someone preparing, someone waiting, someone not there yet. Then I applied Neville's warning like a scalpel. I stopped waiting for the apartment, and I accepted the apartment as already mine in consciousness, meaning I would wake up and instead of thinking, I can't wait to move, I'd feel, I'm already moved internally. This is just an old reflection playing out. I stopped doom-scrolling listings like I was begging reality to cooperate. Not because I gave up, but because the person who has the home doesn't frantically search for the home, they enjoy the home. And I started living from that inner location. I let my nervous system settle into done. I let my language settle into already, and I let my body stop doing that forward lean. 6 weeks later, a friend mentions someone is moving out of a place, and it's not just close to what I wanted, it's better than what I imagined. The price fits, the timing fits, and 3 weeks after that, I'm moving in. And on move-in day, I swear to you, I didn't feel like I arrived somewhere new. I felt like something caught up to me, like reality finally stopped lagging behind my assumption. Now, here's the most insidious part, and this is why I'm making this video, because waiting feels productive. Waiting feels like you're being good, like you're being loyal, like you're being responsible, because society says, good things come to those who wait. And a lot of spirituality says, be patient, let it unfold. But Neville is basically saying, that's backwards, because he says, dare to believe in the reality of your assumption, not dare to stare at the 3D until it gives you permission. Waiting is doubt dressed up as patience. And the sentence underneath waiting is always, I'm not sure it's real yet. So here's the ultimate truth in plain words. The state of waiting is the state of lack. And lack creates more lack. Not because you're being punished, but because you're being reflected. If you walk around internally as not yet, you will keep experiencing not yet. And you'll call it bad luck. You'll call it delays. You'll call it divine timing. But it's just your state being mirrored. The permanent way out is you stop making your desire a future location, and you make it a present identity. You stop flirting with soon, and you commit to done. You catch anticipation the moment it shows up, and you translate it into satisfaction, because satisfaction is what having feels like. You stop checking for signs, because signs are what you look for when you don't believe the thing itself is real yet. And you stop talking about your life in future tense, because your language is a confession of your state. So every time you say, when I have it, you're reinforcing that you don't have it. And every time you say, once it manifests, you're placing it outside your now. And I want to make this super practical, because if you're listening like, okay, but what do I do? It's this. You decide that in consciousness it is already yours, and you let your day match that decision by removing the behaviors of waiting, which means you stop stalking, you stop monitoring, you stop measuring, you stop doing that subtle, is it here yet, pulse, and you return to normal life with the quiet conviction that it is handled. And I'm going to be honest, this is one of the hardest shifts in manifestation, not because it's complicated, but because it feels risky to stop checking. It feels risky to stop scanning. It feels risky to stop making sure. But if you stay with waiting, you stay with lack. And if you step into being, things start moving in ways that feel unreal. And to prove it, I'll give you the smallest example that made me laugh out loud because it was so clean. One day, I decided I wanted a free coffee just to test myself. And I didn't do a big ritual. I didn't visualize for 20 minutes and then stare at the world. I just decided, it's done. Free coffee today. And I dropped it. Like actually dropped it. Not dropped it while secretly hoping, I forgot. Later that afternoon, a friend texts, they're at a coffee shop near me and they say, want something, my treat. And I remember thinking, oh, that's what it looks like when there's no gap, no waiting, no leaning forward, just decision and echo. So here's the takeaway I want burned into your brain, because if you get this, your entire practice changes. Waiting is the silent killer of manifestations because it looks like faith, but it's actually denial. It looks like patience, but it's actually lack. It looks like trust, but it's actually separation. The moment you wait, you assume it's not yours. An assumption creates reality, so you create more, not yet. But the moment you stop waiting and you start being the person who already has it, you assume it is mine now. And that assumption becomes your world. Not later, not someday, not when the time is right, but now, which is the only time reality ever lives in. Starting today, I want you to treat anticipation like a red flag, because every time you feel that little, I can't wait, that's your cue that you slipped into the waiting state. And in that moment, you pivot back into ownership by telling yourself, it's already mine in consciousness, and the 3D is just catching up. And then you prove you mean it by dropping the checking, dropping the sign hunting, dropping the timeline math, and living like there's nothing to wait for. And if you want me to go deeper on how to actually live in the end without forcing it or spiraling into, am I doing it right? Watch my video about the most powerful Neville Goddard lesson, because in that one, I break down how to embody the state in a way that feels natural, stable, and repeatable. Stop waiting, start being, and then just watch how fast life starts reflecting you.